Yo, what's up, son? This is your host, Mr. Yuck, and today we're going to be taking a look at the monk on the console version of Diablo III. This is one of the best ways to set up an extremely high damage per second monk that will be able to wipe the fucking floor with any dude that you come across, including Diablo himself, which I solo later on in this video on Inferno Master V. You guys ready? Let's get started. So to give you guys a good sense of how strong this monk build is, I've rounded up a bunch of dudes here on Act 4. You will notice that I am on Inferno Master V. And so let's get going, whipping up on some of these dudes right here. You will notice that my bell, when it crashes, just does massive damage. When I use both my primary and my healing breeze, my DPS goes from 590,000 to 726,000 a second, and virtually makes it so I can kill anybody virtually instantly with no modded gear whatsoever, and that's the key. Who needs modded items? Alright, so at this point, let's just go ahead and take a look at my skill build and what actually makes this character so effective. So let's jump in right into my skills. For my primary, I'm using Fists of Thunder and Quickening. Makes it so I can regen spirit really fast. On my secondary, I'm using Wave of Light. I'm using the Empowering Wave, which reduces the cost to 40 of my spirit. Makes it so I can use my Wave of Light really fast, and doing that insane amount of weapon damage that it does. This is going to be my main damaging move. A Cyclone Strike, I like to use Eye of the Storm. It reduces the spirit cost, so I can draw the dudes in as often as I needed to, and then just crash that Wave of Light, that bell right on top of them. For my defensive move, I'm going to be using Breath of Heaven. It does give me a substantial amount of life, but on this one, I opt for Blazing Wrath, the modifier. Okay, what Blazing Wrath does, it increases the damage of all your attacks by 15% for 45 seconds. Considering that the cooldown is only 15 seconds, the whole time you're fighting dudes, your damage will be increased by an additional 15%. On this build, I also like to use Sweeping Winds. And for Sweeping Winds, I actually like to use Blade Storm. On Blade Storm, the more times you hit dudes, the vortex intensifies up to ×3, and it does a 78% weapon damage. So at that 726,000 DPS that you'll be doing, Sweeping Wind actually does do quite a substantial amount of damage, especially when you're continuing the fight over and over and over. Keep in mind that it does run out after 6 seconds, so you want to keep that chain going. For my mantra, on this build for extremely high DPS, I go for the mantra of Contradiction. And I go for Overawe. It increases the strength to 24% additional damage on the mantra and 48% for the first 3 seconds. So it's really crucial that in those first couple seconds that we see a dude, we want to do as much damage as possible. So we're going to pull him in with Cyclone Strike, hit him with our bell, and they're going to be getting hit by Sweeping Wind all at the same time. That 48% additional damage on the first 3 seconds is really crucial. For our passive skills, we're actually going to be using a Combination Strike, and it will give us 8% additional damage every time we use Fist of Thunder. So that is really key. You can switch out Sweeping Wind for additional primary, but in this build I'm just going to opt for one primary. That 8% additional damage is going to be just enough. For my second passive skill, I'm going to go with Transcendence, increasing that life every time I spend a spirit, which is really key, and Seize the Initiative, which increases my armor by 50% of my dexterity. And so that's pretty much my passive and my active skills, which is making me so strong. With all of these skills combined, it means that I can output an extreme amount of damage in that first 3 seconds, virtually killing any enemy that I come across. Here's a big old group of dudes, and let's get cracking. You want to stun me? and they literally have no chance. It cannot be done. I cannot be killed. Alright, so you want a big old group of dudes, and you're not convinced yet? Well, here's one of the bigger ones that you'll see in the entire game. Look at this mob of guys. Virtually just tearing through every single dude I see. Sending them flying in all different directions, while Arcane is all on top of me. Woo! And this dude's a strong elite, too. Extra health, and every single dude is gone. Now, on the Diablo. Alright, so on the Diablo himself, Inferno Master V. Let's get going, and let's defeat this primeval with ease. So to get started, throw out our mantra, run up, Breath of Heaven in the sweeping wind, and then we're just going to lay into him with our belt. You'll notice that he gets stunned pretty often, not from any of our skills, but actually it's from my fist weapon that I'm using. My fist weapon is super OP, and I like it almost more than any other weapon in the entire game. It gives a 30% chance to stun, which is just ridiculous, which means that every move that you use now has a stun. And so Wave of Light, Cyclone Strike, just using your primary, they can stun dudes just as well. So there's one reason why I use Empowering Wave instead of Blinding Light. Throw that Sweeping Wind back on whenever I get a chance. Just keep hitting him with my Wave of Light, my belt, over and over. You can see how often Diablo is stunned, which is quite a bit. He keeps trying to get away, but he's just not able to. Why? Because Diablo is a scrub. Even on Master V Inferno, you know, you don't gotta use modded items. You know, that shit's gay, bro. Fuck that modded item shit and just get on my level with some good items and some good technique. So here, Diablo just trying to do something to us. Standing right in his damaged crater right there of the fire. We'll just move to the side of it. Stun him enough time where only one trap comes out. And that is it for Diablo. This big old scrub is done. And so if we want, we can go ahead and we could take a look at my armor and stuff right now. We might as well. Very similar to the armor and items that I was using in my previous monk builds, but in case you wanted to go over them, I'm using a Devil's Tongue and Sledge Fist. Sledge Fist is one of the key weapons that you will need in this build. It does have that 32% chance to stun, depending on the quality of the weapon that you get. It should be around 30%, but as you can see, the stun really comes into play. I go for the Devil's Tongue as my secondary. It's pretty good. It's well-versed all around. It does give me a decent amount of vitality. Another good choice would be the Ancient Bone Saber of Zumakalis. I'm going with some really good steady strikers. Moonlight Ward. Of course, the Mempo of Twilight with the Marquise Amethyst in there. Blackthorn Surcoat with the 3 Marquise Emeralds in there. 7 Sins, most OP shoulders. Sage's Gestures, ones that I crafted earlier. The Witching Hour for my belt. Blackthorn's Jousting Mail, which gives me that plus 100 vitality for the Blackthorn Surcoat and legs. Natalia's Bloody Footprints again. And I combine that with Natalia's Reflection. It gives me that additional 7% critical hit chance. And the Wailing Host. Other key things that you might want to take into consideration in this build, my attacks per second is a 2.8. My dodge chance is over a 70 with a 649% critical hit damage and a 57% critical hit chance. This is your host, Mr. Yuck. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something and hope you really enjoyed. I have a feeling that you're really going to like this build as soon as you try it out. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Mr. Yuck Forever, all one word. And hopefully I'll see you again. Later, guys.